Hello and welcome to this series about Rugby League show. However you're watching this, can I just ask you to like this video and subscribe to the channel? It really helps us out. I'm Will Jackson. I'm joined by Sam Brockson, Sam Cook and Pete Smith of the Yorkshire Evening Post. Firstly, then, before we get into it, some admin. Leigh Leopards and St Helens have booked their spots in the semi-final. Leigh beat Wakefield. St Helens beat Leeds, and that sets up semi-finals of Leigh versus Wigan on Friday night, and Hull KR are hosting St Helens on Saturday. Pete, do you want to tell us about Leeds Rhinos St Helens on Saturday night?
I thought you said we weren't going to mention that, Will. Well, I'm going to be magnanimous. Incredible win for St Helens, obviously. I read some social media stuff before the game from Saints fans saying that they hoped they'd lose because they thought it'd mean the end for Paul Wellens, which is just a ridiculous attitude. I don't know if they meant it, but I'm pleased for Paul Wellens. You could see his delight after the game. He was on the pitch with the players running about celebrating. He's a good bloke. And I think he's done a decent job. He's got Saints into the playoffs and he's got them to within one win of the grand final, which is a decent effort and obviously better than 8 other teams in Super League have. I think the ending was something that I've never really experienced before. I can think of 2 or 3 games in over 50 years of watching rugby league that come close to that one. I think it's fantastic for the sport. Looking at social media again over the weekend, there are the clip of the last second try. Well, it wasn't even the last second try, was it? It was after the last second. The hoot had already sounded. So there was one tackle left in the game, and Saints kept the ball alive. And I've seen that clip on a lot of sites that don't normally bother with rugby league, including some rugby union sites, just saying, "Look at this! This is absolutely incredible." So it's great for the sport. Unfortunately for Leeds, it's going to haunt them for years and years because that clip's just going to be shown over and over again, a bit like the wide to west one haunted Bradford for a lot of years. It was very similar to that. I think we're calling it left to right, and just you couldn't. In terms of the profile of the sport, you couldn't ask for anything more exciting. Whether it should have come to that is another matter. Leeds were the better team.
We'll get to the controversy.
Leeds were the better team throughout the 80 minutes, and they should have finished it off. It's down to them. They should have made the final tackle. They were one tackle away from winning. They were 8 points up with 5 minutes to go, and you should win. In that situation, they had enough opportunities to win the game, and they didn't take them. And that's something that they're going to have to dwell on for a long, long time. One thing about sport, we always say, well, there's always next week, but there isn't when you lose in the playoffs, because that's it. Your season's over. You're going to stew on your last defeat for till the next season starts, which is in best part of 5 months' time. From Leeds' point of view, they'll obviously use it as motivation in the off season and pre-season. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Leeds will be hoping that's the case. I think overall Leeds have had a really positive season. They've had a couple of excellent, outstanding individuals. Most notably Jake Connor, who I thought was good again at the weekend. He's on the Man of Steel shortlist. Whether that defeat will cost him the Man of Steel award, I'm not sure. But Brad Arthur's transformed Leeds, just getting into the top 4. It's the first time they've done that since 2017. They haven't been in the playoffs for the last 2 years. They've been in every game. It's the best defensive record they've ever had in the Super League era. They only conceded, I think it was just over 300 points, about 310 points in 27 regular rounds, which is really impressive. They were in every game. That's something Brad Arthur talks about. He wants his team to be in the game with 10 minutes to go. And you could say maybe Wigan in the last round they weren't, but other than that, they were in every game. They've been fiercely competitive. They've had some great wins. They've won at Hull KR. They've beaten Hull KR twice. In fact, they've beaten all the teams around them on the table. They just can't beat St Helens. Leeds' record against St Helens, which I think is now 2 wins in 23, I think it is. I mean, that must be unprecedented in any sport between two top teams. Just couldn't do it on this occasion, and obviously it cost them. But I think once the dust settles, they'll be able to look back on a pretty positive season. But overall, that defeat the other day is going to take a long time to get over.
Yeah, just on the try. If you haven't seen it, you must have been living under a rock for the past 48 hours. But look, was it an accidental offside? The penalty that's given away with 10 seconds to go. St Helens kick it out into touch. The hooter goes. Leeds fans are celebrating. St Helens then put on a move that includes 16 passes, including 7 missed tackles on Harry Robertson and a pretty wild out of the back pass from Tristan Saylor. But that pass sort of opens it up for St Helens to finish in the corner through Shane Wright. Look, is that one of the best moments you've ever seen in rugby league? Well, pair of you, both Sams.
For me, yeah.
I think so.
I was watching Harry Robertson thinking, what are you doing? I thought I was sure that someone was going to wrap him up. Like, I was like, I couldn't. I just, to be honest, I thought it was like youthful naivety at the point. I thought, what is he doing? He's either forgot the situation or he's just overconfident, and he just made me look like an idiot. He proved me wrong. He was, I mean, yeah, there's some suspect tackling, but I think Leeds in that, you can kind of defend Leeds because they're so desperate. They're not necessarily, they're already fatigued. This play's been going on for 20 seconds and they're having to scramble. So them making like the sort of wild swings, it's understandable. And the fact he manages to get it out, and then obviously Saylor does probably his best thing that he's done in a St Helens shirt, and then from that point it looked inevitable. I thought Shane Wright might bomb it. I think Harry Newman had a bit of a swing near his head, but no, I think for like drama, there's just nothing that beats playoff rugby league, and it's horrible if you're a Leeds fan. It's brilliant if you're a Saints fan. If you're a neutral, then you're loving it as well. I think I can't think of a moment. I mean, obviously, the Challenge Cup was won a bit dramatically this year, but it just doesn't even compare. That was 77th minute, and it's like chalk and cheese, really. But yeah, I just wonder what Harry Robertson was doing, but he justified it. So fair play to him.
Yeah,
I mean, that pass from Tristan Saylor is just out of this world, isn't it? Out the back 10 metres to get it away and keep the move going, and then obviously gets to Lomax and Saints have got a 4-on-1 basically.
I think that's the best thing. I said it at the time in the group chat. I think that's the best thing Tristan Saylor's done all season, and I don't think any other player could have really made that pass either. Look, a couple of bits of controversy in that game. The Jon Bennison try. Pete, I know your opinion on this, so I'm going to start with you. But, I mean, so second St Helens try, 6 minutes to go, I think it is. Jon Bennison reaches out and the ball touches, or appears, I personally thought it just touched the line. Jack Smith takes a look at it. I mean, he's about a metre away. He's got the best view in the house and still sends it upstairs, which I find pretty baffling. But Pete, what's your view on it?
It wasn't a try, Will. It was short. There are angles which suggest that the ball is on the line, and there are angles which suggest the ball wasn't on the line. The referee, as I understand it, the video referee has to be sure that the referee has made a mistake. He has to have clear evidence for that. And the fact that there were two angles showing different things proves, as far as I'm concerned, that there was doubt. He couldn't be sure. He couldn't be 100% sure that the ball was grounded on the line. Therefore, he should have ruled it out. Simple as that. This particular video referee has been involved in a new number of controversial incidents this season. You could refer back to Leeds against Leigh when Brodie Croft had a try ruled out very dubiously in the opening moments. I think he got it wrong on this occasion, and it cost Leeds, but Leeds was still in front at the time, and they should still have seen the game out.
Yeah, I mean, full transparency, I wasn't at the game. I was watching at home, and I wasn't working. I was just watching as a fan, really, fan of rugby league, watching it. At the time, I didn't think it was that controversial because I think the first angle Chris Kendall saw had him touching the ball down on the line. And I think if you've got an angle that shows it's try, then that's the only one that really matters.
Well, yeah, but there are other angles that show it wasn't a try. That's the.
But Chris Kendall didn't use them. He I don't know if he had them at his disposal, but there was only two. There was only two angles that he watched.
If Chris Kendall didn't use them, then that's on Chris Kendall, isn't it?
As I say, we don't know whether he had them available to him, do we?
But we've seen the angles on TV since, haven't we? The video referee say I've seen every available angle. Usually, I don't know if he said that on this occasion. If he didn't use every available angle, that's a mistake by somebody. I don't know who by. The video referee has a job to do. He does it honestly. In my opinion, in this case, he made a mistake. But it's over and done with. It's as they say, it's in the papers. The try was given. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it now. Forget about it and move on. Yeah,
Jack Smith sent it up as double movement as well. Sam C, Sam B, have you got any issues with the double movement decision part of the decision there?
I'm not sure.
I don't think it was double movement.
I thought it was no try. I messaged Sam straight away and was like, "There's no way this gets given." And then you kind of look at. I think the more you look at it, the more you start to doubt and wonder. And I think, but you're right in that Chris Kendall didn't seem to, given how long some video referee decisions have taken, which we've had over 5 minutes on occasion. It didn't seem to take that long, and that's probably where you're wondering, has he looked at every single angle? And obviously it's intensified because of the situation and like the fact it's the playoffs and what that try means, and then obviously what it means when they score the winner. But I think it's one where if you polled 100 people, you're probably going to get 50 different answers either side. And I think, like Pete says, it's in the books now, and it's how Leeds use that as motivation for next season, really.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
We all know what the problem is. The problem is this referee's on-field call malarkey.
And technology as well. Technology not being good enough. So many camera angles. I mean, not necessarily on this situation, but so many camera angles across the season have been blurred, which just isn't. And I understand there's a lot of money that has to go into that, which the sport doesn't have. But it's not a perfect process, so you're not going to get perfect results.
But Jack Smith was right on the spot. He didn't think it was a try, or he would have sent it up as a try. He said no try.
I personally don't think Jack Smith has got an excuse for sending it up, given how close I mean, look, if you watch it back, he is literally a metre away, bent at the hips, scrutinising, and he still doesn't believe his own eyes. I don't understand why he sent that up sent that to Chris Kendall at all.
But when he sends it up as no try, it changes the picture, doesn't it? Because then supposedly the video referee has to be absolutely clear that there's been a mistake made. And Sam C has just said, if you asked 100 people, 50 people would have a different opinion. There was doubt. We wouldn't be having this debate if it had been a straightforward, I don't know if that's a try or not. Chris, you have a look at it and you decide. But because we've got this daft rule where the referee has to make a guess effectively, then we get this sort of controversy. I just don't understand why they expect the referee to make a decision and then check check with the video referee. Either the referee knows, in which case give the try or don't give the try, or he doesn't know, in which case why should he give an opinion before he hands it on? It's just an absolute nonsense, and it creates... Well, I mean, we all like controversy, don't we? We've been talking about it for 15 minutes, but it creates unnecessary hoo-ha. And if Jack Smith had made a decision one way or the other, or hadn't made a decision at all, I don't think we'd be talking about this. Everyone would just move on. But because he said one thing and the referee said the other, then we've got this debate. And it wasn't the first time in the game, was it, that the video referee overruled the referee. There were 2 captain's challenges by Saints earlier in the game, both of which the video referee upheld. Just one of those things.
Yeah, I completely agree with you about the on-field decision. I don't think we should be getting referees to effectively get to guess.
Yeah.
And what does it prove really? Sam C, I know when we spoke about this as well, I know you thought a point of contention was the Curtis Sirenen incident on McDonnell as well.
Yeah, for me that was a similar instance. I'm not even sure if it was given as a penalty. I think it might have been play on. Which didn't.
It was a penalty, Sammy. He awarded a penalty.
Or was it a penalty? Okay,
yeah.
But I thought, to me at that point, it seemed like, and we'd had it the night before, can we get through a game without giving any penalties away? Can we get it to run as smooth as possible? And there definitely is an aspect of playoff rugby is officiated differently in that it is allowed to flow. Things that are on the line are kind of maybe allowed to slide. And sometimes that creates great moments. But I think also sometimes you do have to just say, well, that is actually beyond the line. It's not on the line. And that for me, I think he's hit out there. And I don't really know. I think James McDonald's maybe got something to start it, but I really don't think there's that much in it from McDonnell. And I think Sirenen's reacted in a way that he shouldn't do. And to be honest, I thought Sirenen had been Saints' best player to that point as well. And I thought at that point, he's cost him there. But it wasn't given. And for me, it probably should have been. But again, and obviously then at that point, if Leeds are on, or if Saints are down to 12, then it makes a big difference. But for me also, Leeds were finding a way to chase a game that they were winning. That's how it seemed to play out. I think Pete mentioned a couple of weeks ago about when they were against Catalans and the way they chased that game. It just wasn't. They actively chased it rather than trusting the process. This game they were leading, and they seemed to try and just be forcing things. They weren't again trusting the process that's got them there.
Even after the Jake Connor 2040 attempt,
even after the fact that Jon Bennison scores, I think Connor has that attempted 40-20, or maybe it's a clearing kick. It looks like a 40-20, and it's not really that close. It goes over the sideline by quite a way. And I think I don't want to say shortcuts because I don't think the Bradford team takes shortcuts, but they just didn't rely on what has got them there. They were trying to, like I said, win a game that they were already winning. I don't think they needed to do stuff. They needed just to kind of play simple rugby, and they would have seen that game out. So I think all of the controversy aside, you can look at how Leeds played and be like, well, there's questions there for me anyway. I don't know what Pete thinks of. He's probably best placed to give his opinion on it.
I mean, I think you're right to a large extent, but you know it's a playoff game, isn't it? They're not robots. That there was a lot at stake. A really passionate atmosphere, and I think both sides got caught up in that a little bit. I think the key thing is Saints know how to stop Leeds playing. They've done that. That was the 5th meeting between the sides this year, and Saints have won 4 of them. They've got the upper hand over Leeds. I don't think Leeds played that well, but I don't think they played poorly. I wouldn't have said they played poorly. They missed some chances, didn't they? Harry Newman had one in the second half where if he'd scored or passed it to I think it was Ryan Hall, then they would probably have won. If Leeds had got another try, they would probably have won. But terrific defence from Saints to keep them out. There's two sides to it, isn't there? Saints really battled hard and managed to win a game which effectively they weren't ever in front, were they, in the 80 minutes? They never looked like they were going to win it, and somehow they found a way to win it. I think Leeds have obviously got a lot of things, like Sam says, to work on in pre-season, but they're still a developing team. I think Leeds. I think they've made great strides, and I think with another pre-season under Brad Arthur, they'll iron out some of these things. Last pre-season, remember that the pivots didn't really train in the positions that they ended up playing because the number 7 was Matt Frawley, and of course when the season started, that all changed. I think with a pre-season of Croft and Connor working together, I think they'll be better. I think the game management will be better. I think they'll be calmer. They'll learn from the experience. You would hope. I wouldn't be too critical of Leeds' performance overall, but I do think what Sam says is right, but I think it's understandable.
Yeah, Sam B, look, this is going to stick in the teeth for a long time, but how do Leeds shrug this one off and come back with a fresh mindset for next season?
Well, it's going to take a while, isn't it? I mean, Brad Arthur alluded to it in his press conference. They were just shattered, and you would be if you'd lose in them circumstances. But they've got to take positives of the fact of the season they've had. You look at the start of the year compared to now; the improvements have been massive. Jake Connors turned into this, elite level halfback. He's got Brodie Croft playing his best stuff. Lockie Miller's been one of the best fullbacks. They've got a team there that can win trophies, and they need to take positives in the fact that they do have that, and it will be hard to take, but they've got confidence. They should have confidence that they, can overturn this defeat.
Yeah, just one more in this game then.
Sorry, I think it reflects where they are. I don't think they're quite a title-winning side yet. This time next year, maybe they will be. We'll see, won't we? But over the season as a whole, certainly Hull KR, Wigan, and Leigh have just been that little bit better than Leeds over the whole course of the season. Leeds have beaten all those teams in one-off games, but then they're not quite there yet as a championship winning team. I think they've got potential to be a championship winning team. They probably need a couple of additions, but with another pre-season under Arthur, everyone another year older and wiser, I think they'll be a force next year.
Just something you said there, I want to pull that thread a bit. Where do you think they need to improve? Then where do you think these additions need to come?
Well, I think they need to replace Sam Lissone, obviously, who is leaving. That whether they'll bring in someone to play a similar role, I'm not sure, because Sam Lissone's sort of quite a unique type of player, because he comes on for 10, 15-minute spells. He's not someone you're going to get a lot of game time out of. I think they may feel that they've got a ready-made replacement in the 18-year-old Presley Cassell, but I would imagine they'll probably look at maybe bringing a prop in, and obviously again second row, where Morgan Gannon, who has been quietly excellent, I think this season. I think they'll really miss him. I think they'll miss him more than Sam Lissone. He's going to New Zealand Warriors, so they need to fill the gap there. They do have some good prospects in the academy. Cassell we've already seen. There's a kid called Zach Lloyd who I like the look of. He was very good in the reserves grand final the other week. He's only 18, but I think they'll probably look to strengthen there. They've all being well, they'll have Mike Acevo available for next season, and that'll give them a little bit more strength in depth in the outside backs. And he's going to be like a new signing. He did his ACL in pre-season, as we all remember. In January, having Leeds had expected him gone all the way through pre-season, literally to the last couple of weeks, with him going to be on the wing, and then he did his ACL and hasn't played a game for them. But he's somebody that we expected might score 20 or so tries in a Super League season. They've been without him all year, so they've done pretty well to get where they have. He'll come back in. I don't know if they'll look at any other areas. I would think a couple of forwards is probably what they need. They're not. I don't think they're far off, but just a couple of tweaks here and there. I don't think major surgery is required.
Yeah, just one more on this game before we move on then onto this and look ahead to the semis. Sam C. Look, Paul Wellens has been scrutinised, criticised at every twist and turn of the season, really. Look, this wasn't the perfect St Helens performance. With in attack they were pretty jaded, but how much did he personally need that win?
Massive. I mean, you see the outburst of emotion at the end of the game, and I think Pete mentioned at the start, like, he is one of rugby league's good guys. He cops a lot from fans, and I think as journalists as well, we ask questions because you understandably they've signed Tristan Saylor. That's all it comes down to this season, really. They're trying to sign Tristan Saylor to play six, and he can't play six to the standard that they need, and it just means shuffling other pieces. So whether that's on him, whether it's on the recruitment side, we don't really know. But the persistence to keep trying to mix it. I mean, that was only the second time that Wellesby and Lomax had played in halves with Saylor at fullback, with round 27 being the other time. That you should not be going into the playoffs with that being the situation. That said, they've still managed to win, and I think it's to the point now they've almost got to embrace the fact that their attack is what it is. They're not going to change it by next week or by potentially Old Trafford. That's an off-season problem they've got to resolve. But what they've got to do is embrace the fact that, I mean, they are one of the best defensive sides. They made it really ugly in the first half with some of the slowing down the ruck. But again, I mentioned earlier, the playoffs are sometimes officiated a bit differently. Leeds maybe could have cottoned on to that and done the exact same. Saints are good at the dark arts, they're good at defending. I think if they embrace that, then there's no reason why they can't beat a Hull KR team who haven't really been firing. But for Wellens, I'm really pleased for him. I think he deserves it. And I think, again, if you look at the fact, you kind of suggest, well, we can't fix much with this attack at the moment. So what you got to do is just lean into what you are, and also lean into the fact that the passion that's in that club, and the passion emanates from him. So I think they're a real live chance next week, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, looking ahead to that game then, look, Saturday night, Saints have been to Rovers twice this season now and lost. First time pretty convincingly the week before the cup final. Second time it was a lot closer. Pete, Sam B, can you see Saints going there and shocking the League Leaders Shield winners? I mean, personally speaking, I think Rovers know they can go set for set with St Helens and get the job done.
I think the Hull KR, Willie Peters will have been jumping up and down out of his seat when he saw that last minute try. I think Hull KR would have been nervous about playing Leeds. I think they're pretty sure that they can beat St Helens. That said, the last game was fairly close, wasn't it? And it's a one-off. Hull KR didn't react great under pressure, did they, against Warrington? They were when they needed the win to secure the League Leaders Shield. I don't think they're in great form. I think Saints, if everything went right for them and they can hang in there and show the same sort of determination they showed the other day and have a bit of luck, they could do it. But I certainly wouldn't bet on Saints. But Hull KR don't look to me like a grand final winning team either. I think the two most informed or more informed sides are in the playing each other in the other semi-final. I'd say it's a tough one. Hull KR are a good side; they could get the form back, but I just don't see them as grand final winners the way they're playing. I don't think Saints are either. Obviously, one of them's going to be in the grand final. I think it'll probably be Hull KR, but I don't think they'll win it.
Yeah, Sambi, just before you pop in here, how emotionally draining was Saturday as well, especially with the Matty Lee situation where he's he had to rush off for the birth of his daughter as well, and everything else on top of that. Do you think there's a natural come down almost after that one as well?
Yeah, it'll taken a lot out of them, and I think it could come back to bite them, especially with KR having that extra week off. To win a game in that sort of scenes, it even though it is a high, it will drain you. But if they defend like they did against Leeds, they've got every chance. They were structured. They kept Leeds. Well, Leeds only scored twice. I think if they stick in with their defence and try to keep Knowles and Wellesby targeted Croft all night. If they do that with Lewis, I think they've got a good chance of. I won't say win, but I'll say sticking in there.
Predictions then?
I'll go KR by 6.
Yeah, I think I'll go KR by 2. I think I just don't trust them at the moment. And I think while St Helens will be fatigued, they've also that momentum, which KR haven't had for months, well, weeks maybe. So yeah, I'll go KR by 2, but I think it'll be really close.
Pete?
I don't really care, Sam. To be honest. But I think Hull KR will probably win it. But anything can happen. We've already seen that. But yeah, Hull KR. I think Saints have struggled to beat teams above them in the league this season, haven't they? It'd be a good time from their point of view to change that, but I just can't see it happening. So Hull KR by a couple of scores.
Yeah, I'll go a bit more one-sided. I think I'll say Rovers by 18. We're 32 minutes into this recording now. We've not even mentioned the other playoff game. So Leigh Leopards, they blew Wakefield away, didn't they, on Friday? Sam C, what was the difference for you? Was it just a case of the pack being too strong and obviously Lachlan Lamb pulling the strings in the red zone?
I think they were just too strong everywhere. The only I think the second try doesn't really come to about the 25th minute, but they'd won that game in the first 20 anyway, even at 6-0. They absolutely battered Wakefield. Wakefield will have had nothing left in the second half. The line speed was ridiculous, and they just trapped Wakefield in the half. You were for long periods, you were only watching one half the field. And then on the back of it, when Wakefield try and bring their own line speed, they just couldn't because I think they were just drained. Starting like that against Wakefield and starting like that against Wigan are two different things. But if they can replicate that and really go toe for toe like they did in round one, then there's such a live chance. And I think it's great for Super League that you've potentially got like Leigh last year. Yeah, they made the semi-finals and played Wigan, but no one was expecting much. And as it went, they lost 38-0. I think people are genuinely thinking that they could actually go across and make the upset, especially on the back of the fact they've done it once this year. Like, mentally, that's such a big thing for them. But on Friday night, they were just too intense. And I think Isaac Leo had one of his best games. He was unbelievable. Just all of that pack. Joe Afangawi's been one of probably the best mid-season signing you've had in recent years. Alex Huisavakis coming into his own. Owen Trout and Robin Mulhern, candidates for England as well. I think, you don't even necessarily have to look at what Lamb did because it was just set up for him by that pack. So, I think against Wigan, that is going to be a really, really good game.
Yeah, I mean, the two standouts for me were, as you just said, Isaac Liu and Jotham Garwe for me. But having said that, Lachlan Lamb's a difference maker consistently. Is he? I mean, he's got different attributes to Bevan French, but is Lachlan Lamb the best player in good ball in that last 20 metres in the league?
His kick selection's brilliant, isn't it? I mean, and I've said it a couple of times recently about something about Ewan Irwin in the Warrington Academy. Ewan Irwin really threatens the line, and he makes defenders bite. You can't give a risk, and I think Lamb does the same. You get some halves who run at the line, and you kind of know that they're just trying to distract the defender and they're going to pass. He will take the run in, and he'll actually really make the defenders think. And you know his reputation as well. You know he's assisted more than 40 tries this year, so you have to respect the pass, but you also know that he's got that grit in him as well to go. And I think that's something that defenders just can't really deal with. And Gareth O'Brien is the underrated one there as well. He just ticks along and controls everything on the other side. And I think, considering that they obviously had planned for Matt Moylan this year, Gareth O'Brien's been brilliant. I think one of the underrated stars of Super League this year.
Yeah, Lachlan Lamb. It's simple but effective. It's that double pump. It just seems to work every single time when he's moving towards a flank. Yeah, this is probably the most interesting semi-final. I mean, they're both interesting, but this is the one where, you know, as we've all sort of agreed on, probably the grand final winner is going to come from. Yeah, on current form, you know, Leigh go into this having won 6 straight games before this week. Wigan have had a week off. They've been in Yorkshire on a training camp this week. They're going to be fresh. How do we see this one going, Samby?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think Wigan, just with that match experience in the big games, obviously they won the last 2 grand finals. I think Wigan do edge it, but don't count out Leigh. Leigh definitely have the ability to win this one, but I will say Wigan by 8.
Pete, do you care about this one?
No, to be honest, not really. You know, it'd be nice to have. Wouldn't it be nice to have a Leigh versus Hull KR grand final when we were guaranteed a new winner of the trophy? That would be great, wouldn't it? I can't see it. I think Leigh are a really good side. I enjoy watching them. I don't know why Lachlan Lamb isn't a Man of Steel nominee, but I think because Wigan have got Bevan French and Jai Field, I think they'll win. If those two fall off the bus on the way back from Yorkshire or whatever and can't play, then you'd fancy Leigh. But I think Wigan are a different side when they've got Bevan French in the ranks, and I think with home advantage they'll probably win it narrowly. But I'd like to see Leigh. I hope Leigh do. But I think Wigan will.
Sam C, just before I ask your prediction, there's a bit of controversy in this one as well, was there?
Yeah, I was going to say we've mentioned Lachlan Lamb and how brilliant it was, and it looked like it was going to be the talking point of the weekend until obviously we got that Saturday night ending. But Lachlan Lamb is on report for allegations of unacceptable language. It's a bit confusing at first. I think because of the fact that Lamb is the captain, he can't be. I don't think the referee was able to address him, so you had to speak to Gareth O'Brien. So the TV cameras are looking at Gareth O'Brien, so you think it's him who's on for the charge, but it's actually Lamb. Mason Lena's made that allegation. And then also, which in itself will be looked into by the match review panel today, and then potentially an Operation Rules Tribunal. But then there's also the incident with Seth Nicotimo. Nicotimo gets tackled by Lamb. Neither of them hear tackle complete or held. So Nicotimo gets up and then Lamb continues the tackle and effectively slams him down. The tackle itself is probably illegal, I'd say, but Nicotimo hurts his shoulder and is unable to return at that point. If there's a charge there, and I think the charge would probably not necessarily be about an illegal tackle, but you'd probably be looking at like tackling after hell's been called. So I don't know if you look at what necessarily the terminology would be. But if there's a charge there, because of the fact Nicotimo can't come back on, there's an extra 3 points on his record, which would push him, if it was only a grade A, which it could well be, it would push him to 5.5 with the threshold being 6. So then obviously then you're looking at what happens with the on-report incident. So we've mentioned how good the pack is and the pack won it. But if they don't have him, then I really struggle to see it. Obviously, Ben McNamara will probably come in. Potentially even they might put Brad Dwyer in there. But I think that could be a huge loss. We need to see what happens today. But I think the on-field decisions were fine. I don't think it was sin-bin worthy. We obviously don't know the other incident, but if he's out, then that's Wigan in the grand final for my eyes. At the moment, if he plays, then I think we could be coming down to a drop goal either way, similar to round one. I genuinely think it's that close. Wigan just know how to win big games, so I probably would favour with them there.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think Lamb's a game breaker. If he plays, I think Leigh might go through, and I'm going to say a point, 19-18, Gareth O'Brien drop goal. So, well, bit of other news this week then. York play Toulouse in the Championship Grand Final. Pete, this one's a bit more local to you. Tell us what it means to York to go and win the Championship Grand Final.
Well, it would be
and a treble as well.
It would be fantastic for the city. I live in York. I covered Rydell York as they were some time ago, and I was around when they were playing at Heworth, an amateur ground, and playing in front of a few hundred fans. And the original York club actually went bust midway through a season, and they came back as the York City Knights initially, and now York Knights. And there's always been a lot of interest in rugby league in York, but people tend to go and watch Castleford or Leeds. Now they're starting to watch the Knights, and I think the Knights they've been tremendous this season. What a fantastic job Mark Applegarth has done. I think he was poorly treated at Wakefield. He had an impossible task in his season as coach there. When they had a team that were obviously going to finish bottom of the table and get relegated, he sort of held things together there a little bit. And when some money came in at the end of the year, he got the boot. He's re-emerged at York, and he's just completely transformed their fortunes. They were struggling before he was appointed. They went on to the semi-finals last year and lost fairly narrowly against Wakefield. And this year, I think they've won the last 20 consecutive games. They finished top of the table. They've won the 1895 Cup. They've just had an outstanding year. And I think it'd be great for the city and for rugby league in North Yorkshire if they were to win it. And it would make it a lot harder for the panel that are deciding who it goes into Super League next year to exclude them. If they win the grand final, they've earned the right to be in Super League. Toulouse will say the same thing. Got a lot of time for Toulouse and what they're doing there as well. I think it's going to be a great occasion. It's a bit disappointing it's not on neutral ground, really. The old second tier grand finals, when we had grand finals day, there used to be three games on the same day, and they were great events. I think it would have more of a big game feel if that was the case. But York's a good, terrific stadium. They've got a passionate, growing fan base. I think with home advantage, they might shade it. I think it'll be quite a tight game. But yeah, it's just great. It's great for the city of York. I'm really pleased, as I say, for Mark Applegarth, who is another of the good guys in rugby league. He's a really decent bloke, Mark Applegarth, and the job he's done there is fantastic.
Yeah, Sam Brockson, do you want to preview the women's grand final as well? St Helens versus Wigan at the Brick Community Stadium.
So Wigan are on for a 4-peat if you include the Nines tournament that they won mid-season. They obviously won the Challenge Cup in quite dominant fashion against Saints, and then they won the League Leaders Shield. I don't believe they've lost all year. I've had a couple of draws, I think. But yeah, Dennis Betts has done an
They lost to
incredible job
York,
with that.
didn't they, Sam? Sorry to interrupt. Didn't they lose to York?
Go on.
They lost to York, didn't they?
Oh yes, they
Again?
did in Newcastle. Yes. Yeah. But other than that, it's been a near perfect season. They've got Eva Hunter in the back row, who's just a weapon with her dominant carries and tackling. They've got Grace Banks at the back. Saints have had probably not underwhelming, but they've had a tougher year than last year with Wigan's rise. But again, still a very good year. They've brought back Shona Hoyle and Amy Hardcastle, who I don't think has played as much as she'll have wanted this year. But yeah, Jodie Cunningham's been class. They've got Caitlin Casey and Cunningham switching between the 7 and 13 role. I think it will be another great showpiece event for the women's game, obviously live on Sky Sports. But yeah, I think Wigan do edge it and will win that 4-peat this year.
Lovely stuff. And just as a last point, last week we've seen Victor Radley pull out of the England squad. Sam Cook, how much of a blow is that to Sean Wayne, and who does it open the door to come in for that loose forward spot?
I think it's a big blow in the sense that just as a squad, because I'm not actually sure if Radley would have got the nod, because I think Morgan Knowles has been. I mean, Pete mentioned Lachlan Lamb and Man of Steel. Morgan Knowles, he's never going to get points in this system, but I don't think he's been far off one of the best players in the Super League. I think he's been exceptional. He was all over the place again on Saturday night. So I think he's definitely the starter now in my eyes, and I think he may well have been if Radley had been there anyway. But that's not to say that Radley won't be missed. I think the importance of being battle hardened in the NRL especially when you're playing the Aussies, I think is a big thing. I think that might shape what some of the pack looks like in terms of Morgan Smithies, Matty Nicholson, Kai Pace-Paul. I mean, John Bateman's had quite a good season. I know if you're looking for the future generation, he's maybe not where you go, but Sean Wayne trusts him. So I think that a lot of that pack will come from the NRL. I think Radley certainly would have been there. So he's a big loss in that sense, but I think it's a decision that makes sense. I think his missus is 32 weeks pregnant. Obviously, you factor in a 6-week tour. Oh, if he was to set off now, you're looking at it's just coming up to due date. And we've seen, obviously, with Matty Lees this weekend that some things are more important than rugby league. So I think it's the right decision for him and potentially for England. But I do think it'd be a big miss. But Morgan Knowles and then also Smithies are probably your candidates to factor in there. Elliot Minchella might be a shout, but I think he might get edged out just because this season form's maybe just dipped off a little bit.
Yeah. All right, that will do us then. Thank you very much for watching. Another reminder, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, that would be much appreciated. We'll have everything happening this week on Serious About Rugby League, and obviously your Yorkshire news coming through Pete on Yorkshire Evening Post. So stay across those channels, and yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Please like and share, and we'll see you next week.